And we are live in the studio. It is our West Louisville studio, and this is Out the Box. I am Westerfield Tolbert with a mind of valor.
And I am Don motherfucking Cornelius, bitch. It is Derby Shouty, aka Pimp.
This annual celebration happening on the first weekend in May, celebrating, what is it? What are we celebrating?
The 151st Derby of the Kentucky. AKA Kentucky Derby, 151st. And it would be a great time, and feeling so sublime. Feeling so aristocratic, you know what I'm saying? Not democratic or liberal, Republican, thuggin', hugging, all that good stuff. Mother loving. But yes, it's
Flippin',
drizzle, flipping, gripping, sipping, dipping. It's raining and it's paining. You know what I'm saying? But niggas is still maintaining. Facts. Dribble. Popcorn, baby.
Yes. So, people have different perceptions of why the Derby should or should not be celebrated, or what's the purpose of the Derby. And I moved to this beautiful city at a time when the city was transitioning. So, Don was telling me about the memory, the legend of cruising on Broadway. What was that like?
Well, Broadway cruising was one of the epicenters of the Derby tradition, specifically for the Black community. We would come into the West Louisville community, and we would get together, and we would, people from all across the country, Indianapolis, Nashville, just everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Would come up to the Derby and bet on the horses. You know what I'm saying? Just celebrate. You know what I'm saying? Specifically the festivities. Locals, though, you know what I'm saying, would celebrate. You know what I'm saying? A week in advance. So we'd have the parade, we have the boat race, we'd have the fireworks show, and the other different main attractions. That the Derby
Chow wagon.
Chow wagon and different festivities that the Derby brings and stuff
Hot
like
air
that.
balloons.
Yeah, that's all the hot air balloon race, all of that. That's all Derby. Festivities.
Damn marathons. Shout out to the runners.
Yeah. So, basically, that's basically the history, a little bit of backstory, right there, with just the different type of, events and activities the week before the actual Oaks and the actual Derby runs. So, that basically is like the catalyst and the summing up of all of the festivities is the actual Derby.
But tell me about Derby cruising.
Well, specifically Derby cruising, that was something that we always would partake in, but was shut down. I would say about maybe about 10 to 12 years ago, maybe 15 years ago.
I moved here in 2006, 2007. But by the time I got here, I believe it was over. Well,
it was still. You were still able to cruise. You were still able to cruise. Actually, they had just, you know what? About 2007, 2008 is when they shut it down. They shut it down about 2007, 2008 because I had just moved back up here from Atlanta in 2006, 2007. I had just moved back up from Atlanta. So when I moved back up here from Atlanta, that's when they shut it down. I was in my 20s when they actually shut cruising down. And I'll never forget it because being a younger man, in my teenage years, remembering going to Broadway specifically to embrace the cruising, lifestyle, which was,
I hear it's comparable to Freaknik and other.
Oh my goodness, man!
I don't know. I never experienced it. I hear the legend of it. It's like a fairy tale of Black culture.
What's crazy is that when you look at the culture of Black people in the springtime, we've always had, they call it pagan, but we always had like these celebrations of the flower girls. You know what I'm saying? That's the fertility of the feminine gene. You know what I'm saying? And specifically the sap in the tree. is also, rising up in the tree, just like, the genital sexual urge of men. The sun's coming out where, testosterone starts pumping more, or, we start wearing less clothing, so
spring.
the muscles are showing, women is like, oh, okay, look at this strong buff
Birds and
male,
bees
birds and the birds and the bees, man. Like literally, that's literally what these metaphor and these allegory stories are. But they have real life, connotations in them. So Derby is kind of like one of those times where like it's festive, people are coming out. It was always fun. People could always, just dance and play music. There were vendors, clubs, cars. I mean, everybody brought the nice cars out. The ladies. Like, it was a party, man. Women were like not scared to bust that thing open. They were not scared. Like, women were so, it was beautiful, man. It was so beautiful, man.
Shout out to the legend of Derby cruising down Broadway. Just a figment of our imaginations now.
Well,
maybe someday somebody will make a movie or
it's
a
the thing about it is that it hasn't stopped. Like last night, Broadway was off. Tonight it's gonna be off the chain. It was off the chain last night. Did you hear? You ain't heard about it, did you?
No, I missed it.
Like, yeah, it was popping. Like everybody I talked to was like, "Boy, was you on Broadway last night?" I was like, I was in the crib. It was like, nigga, it was going down. Everybody was like, niggas is just now getting up. Everybody said they was out till at least 4, 5 in the morning. They were like, niggas did not go in. Like, yeah, niggas did not go in.
Just chilling, just cruise. Hey,
niggas was not in last night, bro. Niggas
as
was
long
outside,
as everyone was
man.
made it home safe. I didn't watch any news reports this morning before I went in to work, but hopefully everyone is remaining safe tonight, wherever you're at, wherever you're transitioning to or from. Be safe. That's the most important thing. Wherever you hear this broadcast, holla, check in with us. Let us know what you did in the comment section. We'll double back at a future episode. All right? Share your pictures, too. We want to see what they're doing because we're in the studio recording today. We're in our West Louisville studio. It is the Out of the Box show. Welcome and thank you for tonight's episode. We were thinking critically about some things that we can dive into that were challenging a good word. Growth and reconciliation. We want to take a pause just for a moment to honor our past selves and everything that we've grown through and experienced. At the moment, we just have to recognize that we are here in this present moment because we've survived every single day. Shit, I've been on a Duolingo streak for 365 days. Among living and doing so many other things, right? Got kids, got work. I biked to work for like 6 months in the middle of from the spring to the end of the fall. Certainly, I'm saying back roads, all kinds of situations that we live through and we survive. Children and work transitions and familial moves and shifts and the passing of elders, the transition of wisdom, reconciling with the choices that we've made, the options that we've given up, all of these.
Choices and decisions that we, go through in life. And, it's decisions that we choose to make specifically because, I would have to say the number one thing is because we can. We live in a free society. So with that being said, using your free will to kind of dictate and manifest what you want for yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And the positive.
Manifesting great into your life, not just good.
I don't want to have to hurt somebody to be able to have a livelihood for myself. And I think that that's important to like fully understand and fully be able to, take advantage of, because at the end of the day, if we're being honest and we're telling the truth about the situation, it just
seems
there's a place about, for instance, the topic of the show tonight is about, growth and reconciliation.
You think we should define growth and reconciliation separately and then bring them together?
We can. We can. So I'll start off with growth, and then I'll let you do reconciliation, what it means to you. I'll explain what growth means to me, and I'll let you define reconciliation.
All right.
Specifically, when I look into my life, and I tell my story, or I look into how I started my path in life, I'd have to say that the growth that got me to where I am right now specifically comes with a sense of gratitude and reciprocity, I'd have to say. Growth for me is very, I would have to say, slow. And the reason I say that is because I am the type of person that I am slow to move on things, specifically because I want to understand them fully. I don't want to.
I'm going to put a pin there, but please continue. We'll come back. We'll double back.
I don't want to hurt. I don't want to. How do you put it? Rescind my emotions based off of incomplete and inadequate emotional distress. What I mean by that is life causes problems to you, and if you're not able to adequately deal with them through emotional intelligence, you're letting those life lessons turn you emotionally into a simp or a person that relies on their emotions to be their guide, instead of being able to grow into an adult. You've got to be able to grow and formulate the different type of life struggles, because those life struggles are like rays of sun. Whether it be too hot or too cold, it's life. Either if you're living, you're going to experience it, good or bad. But what do you do with that life? See, if you look at life like a ray of sun, you then understand that as long as it's shining on you, you got an opportunity and a chance. So it's about what you do with it. You could be a paraplegic, but guess what? It's all about what you do with that paraplegic life that you have.
This is true. You have paraplegic Olympians. Do we though?
Yes, we do.
There we go.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to say that I am, I know everything. I'm just saying that from a perspective of growth in my life, I know that when I allow those rays to just be, allow things to just be and go with the flow, it really, really does work for me very, very well. It's when I emotionally try to control situations based off of my feelings is when I get in trouble. A lot of times. For instance, there's no, okay, a person disrespected me. I feel, or the perception of somebody disrespecting me or doing something to me that was offensive.
So your feelings are based on perception.
Hey, the guy spit in my face. Just an example.
There's no perception there. It really happens. You reconcile that.
So, how? You whoop his ass?
The caveat, the idea of reconciling.
You protect yourself?
To bring back together. You would be delivering his anger back to him.
Mm-hmm. So why can't you move in your Jedi mind trick and be able to move from whooping his tail to being able to wipe that spit off your face, that spickus, saliva, mucus.
Turn the other cheek, you reckon?
Mm-hmm. Turn the other cheek. Turn the other cheek. Why not?
Why not?
Mm-hmm. Because see, if we're talking about real growth, Do unto others as you want done to yourself.
So
This guy has to be having a pretty bad day.
yeah, obviously, or just be a pretty bad person to spit in someone's face. You don't have to be having a bad day.
A lot of times, does the two go so far apart from each other?
If someone is in that instant just plain, this like he despises you because you're black, and that's why he's spitting you. He's having a great day, and it gives him great joy to spit in your face because you a nigga, and he's like, wow, that would really make my day better. You turn the other cheek,
Well,
or you're gonna reconcile in that moment.
yes. I'm learning that in those situations, we've got to learn how to protect ourselves from those situations. But yes,
You can move,
you've got to
you can duck, but
you've got to be able to protect yourself in those situations. So yes, if he upchucks on you, hook two, give you a big old hook two, right? Hook two, got him. You know what you do?
tell me what
You unzipping your pants and you say, "No, officer, right here." No homo, no diddy. You no on some real shit, man.
wish I had some drums.
You have to really be able to take on the consciousness and the Christ mentality of being able to take those whips, break those chains, love when they hate, even accept their last name. Like you have to be like take on the understanding and the mindset that I will not nonviolence. I will not beget violence with violence.
At some point, violence must beget violence.
No,
If not, if violence doesn't meet violence, then there is absolute terror rained upon one side or the other, and that is unacceptable. Now, I'm not saying be violent. De-escalate as best you can to the maximum need, but at some point, a person must defend themselves. And at some point, reconciliation.
Let me ask you a question.
No.
So what type of defense are we talking about here? Because you take a mountain or a lion, for instance, and you take a person, yourself, for instance, you put them in a room with a full-grown male lion. Who's coming out that room?
Talking about using me as an example?
Me or you, any man, against a full-grown male lion. With nothing but just what God naturally gives you, that lion is going to come out.
With me on his back, riding that motherfucker.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So my thing is like, then you go with the understanding of, okay. Then you take it and you reverse that and you say, okay, you put us both in a room, but you give the lion all of its natural capabilities, and then you give the man all its natural capabilities. I'm a man. I know how to build a 20 gauge shotgun with a hunting slug. With a rifled slug, a 90 millimeter rifled slug inside of a 20 gauge shotgun.
Where's the growth in that?
Do you know what that does to that king of the jungle? That, aka Rottweiler slug, is what they call them, will make the king of the jungle my fur coat.
You hurt animals.
The king of the jungle becomes.
You out here hurting animals?
The king of the jungle becomes my fur coat. because I have the mind frame to create
See,
in
I
20
would
days.
tame the lion.
So the 20, no. I know you want to tame the lion. I know you want to tame the lion. But what happens when the lion does not want to be tamed? What happens when the lion says, today I will tame you? Who will be the tamer? You or the lion? See, I have to, because you specifically said and talked about dominance. You specifically talked about dominance and what that means specifically to being able to exert your power. And that's not growth, right? That's not growth to you.
It is growth in my faith, because I know what God would do for me in the lion's den. I wouldn't be in the lion's den unless me coming out is a testimony to me going in. You understand me? Because there's nothing that I get into that I can't come out of, because God don't put me in places that it ain't already predetermined that I'm going to come out on the other side. How I come out on the other side, the condition is also a condition of my faith and my fortitude in that faith. But what I'm telling you is I'm coming out the room. And I might walk out with the lion, or I'm ride the lion out, but I'm coming out the room. I'm telling you that going in.
Okay. All right. And your faith is just so what, the size of a mustard seed?
Smaller than that. But it's way bigger.
Well,
and that's reconciliation. Let me reel this in a little bit.
Okay, just to go out on growth. Once again, to be able to grow and move to a place of understanding for yourself, that means that you have to be able to grow into who you are and what you're meant to be and moving in your purpose-driven life. That to me is real growth, is when you're able to be what God created you to be. When you're able to live the life that you're supposed to live for yourself. That to me is real growth. That to me is you being able to be that rosebud. Be that beautiful thing that you were created to be. Reconciliation.
We reconcile. First, I want to say that we've been trying to different setups to get our audio just where we want it to be, right where we need it to be for these live setups. And I feel like we are closer today than we've been in the past. And so you give us some feedback at the right time. Just chime in the comment section, send us a message, and we'll get back to you. And when I think about growth, Donald, thank you for that. I'm saying? Interpretation. It's important that I just process that journey of growth and really internalize the message, because I want to be able to reconcile when I'm growing and bring together the ideas in my mind when I need accountability. And reconciliation, growth and reconciliation is the topic of this particular show, because we are in we're in a tunnel as men, and on the other side we're seeing growth or opportunity, and there's a light on the other side of that tunnel. And as we move closer to that light, we reconcile and we understand that we are coming together. We're bringing together the idea of the present and the vision in the future. To reconcile is to bring together, right, at its root. And reconciliation is really to bring people back together, to bring ideas back together so they make sense. It's as if you have two parts of a story, but in order for the story to be comprehensive and coherent, both sides have to come together till the story is complete. It's a puzzle that needs to be joined together, right? So as we look at reconciliation and how it ties into growth, there can be no growth in different spheres of our understanding if we are not able to reconcile along the way. If we are not in a position to look at the choices that we made in the moments of our ignorance and reconcile that in our state of maturity, we can then say, I was wrong. And I need to mend relationships where I made decisions from a poor understanding, right? That is one of the major steps in growth and maturity, is being able to look at the choices that I've made and recognize that they may have altered my journey in ways that I didn't comprehend at the time. So I'm bringing together the reality of the moment and the understanding that I thought would be. And I'm bringing those two truths to bear in the present moment. And when we are doing that in our own understanding, then we can take that transformation out into our relationships, right? We can then greet people and have conversations with them that are honest, transparent, and authentic. Because best believe people are coming at us honest, transparent, and to the best of their knowledge of what they perceive the situation to be. They have a particular context in mind, and absent our understanding of asking them particular questions to gain their context, we are assuming their context just as they are assuming ours, right? So there's a moment there when the opportunity to reconcile two truths so that we then can communicate on the same frequency and in the same language. That right there is one degree of reconciliation in our interpersonal relationships and how we communicate. Now, there's a whole nother level of reconciliation that is called almost truth and reconciliation. You can find these examples in South Africa. You can find these examples in Liberia, where they put together war commissions to address the atrocities that indigenous people and native citizens had partaken in during times of war, right? Where they're saying, it was during wartime, I was wrong. Yeah, I was a soldier during that time and I did terrible things. I am sorry. Sometimes there's some degree of penance. It could be, depending on the level of violence, there could be like some serious criminal offenses, but those are truth and reconciliation commissions. That's more of like a democratic process of how we address reconciliation. And they're all stages of growth that communities, individuals have to go through. But none of that happens unless the person, the individual, first reconciles with himself or herself, where they are, where they first find themselves. Myself, for example, I have to be able to look myself in the mirror and not just see the image that I want to see, but see exactly what is there in the mirror, and then move from there into the environment around me. Look at my environment. Is this environment conducive for my growth? Is this environment conducive to mend the relationships that I have? Can I think clearly from this space? And if it's not, then I have to adjust. And that is another process that just we go on along the way. And it's all growth, and it's all out of the box. It's all novel in the moment, because when these revelations are happening, it's happening for the first time. We're seeing it in real time. We're experiencing it in real time for the first time. The mindset that we carry, how we frame the experience, will determine whether we can even qualify what we're seeing and know how to receive it. Growth and maturity prepares us to receive uncomfortable messages and sometimes deliver it in an untimely way. But sometimes we receive the message, and then when we are better able to process it, then we can reconcile the truth that we've seen or heard. And it's all part of how we grow.
Indeed. And, growth and reconciliation comes in many, many, many different layers, many different shades and forms. So it's important for us to be able to understand how to let people grow in their own way, in their own time, and knowing when is the proper time to reconcile situations with people. You know what I'm saying? Relationships, businesses, anything. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times you can be done with the job. Your time there is done. So it's time for you to reconcile with the fact that I'm not going to be here anymore, or my time here is done. So you need to be able to know when to reconcile situations, and understand how to reconcile. You know what I'm saying? It's important. You don't want to end on bad terms. You don't want to cut the string. You kind of want to untie the knot. You know what I'm saying? And give it some distance. So if you ever have to cross that bridge again or reattach, you don't have to tie a whole nother connection. You can just start from scratch over, right?
You don't want to have to repair a relationship.
Exactly. Exactly. Perfect synopsis. Repair relationships. Hey, this has been a great episode. I don't know about you, but I've loved it. I've enjoyed myself. Hey, please like, subscribe, share, if you love our content, which we know you do, but if you don't, anywho, Out the Box Show, Don Dada the Great, Derby Don, aka Shouted Pimp.
Diddy Pop. It's Westerfield Tolbert with the Mind of Valor. We are Out the Box. Happy Derby. Be safe out there.
Yo!